2. Jim's story. Jim Wilson goes to the witness box.
Take this book in your right hand and read from it.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Jim, tell me about Mary. Did you know her well?
Very well. She was my girlfriend. Our families come to Trenton for a holiday at the same time every year.
I see. Can you tell us about the night of Saturday the 12th of August, please?
Well, I went to the disco with Mary at 8:30. We sat at a table and talked to our friends. Then we danced, talked, danced, and then Mary went home.
What time did she go home?
At about midnight, I think. I don't remember.
Did you see any new people at the disco?
Yes. 2 young men. They danced with Mary.
Can you see those 2 young men here now?
Yes. Those 2 there. They killed her!
We didn't kill her. That's not true. Please, Mr. Smith, sit down.
I'm sorry about that. Now, Jim, tell me, what did you do when Mary went out of the disco?
Well, I stayed for 15 minutes to talk to some friends. Then I went for a walk and I saw her. There was blood on her face. I tried to help her, but I couldn't.
So, what did you do then?
I ran to phone the police, but it was no good. She was dead, and they killed her.
Jim, did you love Mary?
Yes, I think so. She was my girlfriend.
Yes, she was your girlfriend, and you loved her. You think. Mary left the disco at midnight, you say. She walked along that dark road by the sea. You didn't go with her. Why?
Why? I don't know. She wanted to go alone.
Why? Was she angry with you?
I don't know. A little angry, perhaps. It wasn't important.
Were you angry with these young men? With Simon and Dan? Because they danced with her?
A little angry.
Last year, but it wasn't very good. So now I have a better one than that.
I see. And where is this new spanner now?
In the back of my car, sir. It's always there.
What about the old spanner? Where is that?
Well, I don't know, sir. I didn't want it, you see.
Was it in the car on the 12th of August?
I don't know. Perhaps it was, but I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mrs. Symes. Please wait there.
Mrs. Symes, was your old spanner in the car or not?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Well, perhaps you put the spanner in the back of your car and then you forgot about it.
Yes, perhaps I did.
Yes. And is this spanner like your old car spanner?
I think so. Yes. Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Miss Nolan, you were in the disco on the night of the 12th of August. Did you see Mary Jones?
Yes, I saw her with her boyfriend, Jim. And then later, she danced with those 2 boys.
Which 2 boys?
Those 2.
I see. Did she dance with them for a long time?
For about 10 minutes, yes. She danced with Dan first, and then Simon. Jim wasn't in the disco then. When Jim saw them, he was very angry.
What did he do?
He hit Simon.
And what did Simon do?
Nothing. He didn't hit Jim. He walked away.
I see. And was Jim angry with Mary too?
Yes. Mary laughed at Jim, so Jim was very angry.
Mary laughed at Jim, you say, not at Simon.
Yes, that's right.
What happened then?
Well, Jim and Mary talked, then Mary went home.
I see. And what did Jim do?
He sat there for 5 minutes, then he went out.
What about Simon and Dan? Where were they?
They stayed in the disco. One of them asked me to dance, but I said no. So, after 10 minutes, he and his friend went out.
Now, I want to be sure about this. Jim went out first, you say, and these boys went out 10 minutes after him. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. It's not easy to remember.
Thank you.
You're right, Miss Nolan. It isn't easy to remember things after 6 months, of course.
No, it isn't. But I can remember nearly everything.
Did you watch Mary and Jim all the time in the disco?
No, of course not. But
No. So be careful, Miss Nolan. Perhaps you are wrong about this. It's a long time ago. Perhaps these boys went out before Jim, not after him.
Perhaps. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Thank you. That's all.
No, I'm right. Jim did go out first. I'm sure.
Thank you, Miss Nolan. Thank you very much.
Scene 3. Simon and Dan tell their story. Simon Clark comes into the witness box.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Now, Simon, this is very important. What happened on the night of the 12th of August? Tell me.
All right. Well, I went out with Dan to look for a car. We often take cars, you see.
You steal them, do you?
Not steal, no. We take them for the night, drive for an hour or two, and leave them somewhere.
I see. Do you do this often?
Yeah, why not? We like it. That night, we took this white Ford Fiesta and went to the disco in Trenton. We got there about 10 o'clock, I think.
Did you meet anyone in the disco?
Yes, we danced with some girls, but it wasn't very exciting, so at about midnight, we went out and drove away. 2 hours later, a police car stopped us. That's it.
Now, I want you to look at this photo of Mary Jones. Did you see her in the disco?
Yes. Dan danced with her first, and then...
These young men are guilty of her murder.
That's right! They killed my beautiful daughter!
Please, Mrs. Jones, you must sit down. Mr. Carter is going to talk now.
Members of the jury, Mary Jones is dead. We know that. But did these two boys murder her? Are you sure about that? There are a lot of questions to answer.
What questions? They're guilty! We know that!
Mrs. Jones, you must sit down or go out.
Think about Janet Nolan. She says Jim went out of the disco first, not Simon. Think about the spanner. Did it come from Mrs. Symes's car? Perhaps, perhaps not.
What about the tyre marks? The Fiesta had Pirelli tyres.
Hundreds of cars have Pirelli tyres, Jim. Volkswagen Polos have them. And you have a Polo, Jim.
But my car doesn't have Pirelli tyres.
Perhaps your car doesn't have Pirelli tyres today, Jim. But in August, did you have Pirelli tyres then?
No, of course I didn't.
Well, you say that now. But I'm not sure. And here's another question. What about the blood? There was a lot of blood on your shirt and trousers, Jim.
Of course there was. I tried to help Mary.
But was there any blood on Simon or Dan? No. Members of the jury, there wasn't.
There was blood on Simon's face.
Yes, but you hit him, Jim. There was no blood on Dan or in the car. There was blood on you, and you're a big young man, Jim. You get angry very quickly. Mary was afraid of you.
That's not true. I loved her.
Yes, Jim. But you were angry with her too. And you are angry now. We can see that.
I'm angry because Mary is dead, and they killed her.
Did they, Jim? I'm not sure. Think carefully, members of the jury. Did Jim kill Mary? Perhaps. We don't know. But did Simon and Dan kill her? No, they are not guilty.
Now, members of the jury, there is one big question for you, and you must answer it. Think very carefully. Did these two men kill Mary Jones? Are they guilty or not guilty of her murder?
The verdict. Alternative 1. The judge, the lawyers, the clerk of the court, and Simon and Dan are all in their places. There are 2 policemen besides Simon and Dan. The jury come back into the room and sit down. The foreman of the jury stands up. The clerk stands up.
Members of the jury, do you have a verdict?
Yes, we have.
And what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
No! No, that's not true! We didn't do it!
Be quiet! Simon Clark and Dan Smith, stand up, please.
What did I tell you, Simon? Why did we go to that disco? Why did you want to follow that girl?
I didn't. Be quiet.
Simon Clark and Dan Smith, you murdered Mary Jones, a young, beautiful girl. For this murder, there is only one punishment. You must go to prison for life. But we didn't do it! Jim killed her! We didn't!
No, I didn't. I loved her. You murdered her. That's not true. You murdered her. We didn't.
Be quiet. Take them away, please.
Members of the jury, my Lord Judge, Ms. Wills, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all right, Mrs. Jones. I'm very sorry about Mary, but those boys are going to prison now.
Yes. Come on, Mrs. Jones. It's all right now.
Scene 4. The verdict. Alternative 2. The judge, the lawyers, the clerk of the court, and Simon and Dan are all in their places. There are 2 policemen besides Simon and Dan. The jury come back into the room and sit down. The foreman of the jury stands up. The clerk stands up.
Members of the jury, do you have a verdict?
Yes, we have.
And what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Yes!
That's right. That's right. We didn't do it.
Simon Clark and Dan Smith, stand up, please.
Thank you, jury. Thank you very much. Simon Clark and Dan Smith, you are not guilty of the murder of Mary Jones. You are free to go.
But they killed my daughter! They can't be free!
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, but they are not guilty.
What about Jim? What are you going to do about Jim? He killed her. I'm going home now.
Jim Wilson, come with me. I want to talk to you about your girlfriend, Mary Jones.
But she's dead. Those 2 boys killed her.
No, they didn't. They're not guilty. Come with me, please. Come on, Simon. We're free. We're going home.
My lord, my daughter is dead. Who killed her?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones. I don't know.